So it's about time to entertain ourselves and stop depending on Netflix to entertain us, because honestly, she's been failing. So now I'm gonna have to turn to the good old days when we read books. I'm going to recommend 5 books, cinco libros, for you to read while you're still in quarantine. So the first book I'm going to recommend, welcome to my library. Let me see which one we're going to talk about first. I feel like we're all in our feelings right now. So, I swear I speak Spanish. Número uno. All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. Don't know if I said that right. There's Finch and there's Violet, and they're both just like mentally. Yeah, I said it. They are just really struggling. Like neither one of them says it explicitly, but you can tell that they are both struggling with different forms of a mental illness. I won't spoil it for you because I'm going to be as vague as possible while selling it to you, so like you still know that it's good. Long story short, Finch is the weird kid in school. This is so cliche. I can't believe I love this book this much. Finch was the weird kid in school. He ends up becoming friends with Violet Markey. She's like relatively popular, but she's kind of on the down and down spiral, no cap. So they end up becoming friends. They end up eventually like pretty much dating. They're like all madly in love, all cutesy or whatever, and they keep going on these adventures together for one of their classes. And so she's like, you know, like I think, yeah, like I like this kid. Like he's weird, but like I'm here for it. And that's all I'm gonna tell you. That's it. And it sounds like every other young adult book you've ever read before. Like, I get it, I know, but it's not, because the ending takes such a twist. I'll never forget when I finished reading this book. I was in the car with my mom and my grandma. I don't know where we were going. I think to the store. I bought the book with me to go to the store. That's how hooked I was on this book. And when I finished it, it was like me in the car. Tears. And that's what happened. I like to kind of forget what I read, so like I won't read books for a couple years and like I'll go back and reread them. This is still fresh in my brain. I don't think I'll ever forget, but this is for sure one of my favorite books of probably all time. It's so well written. It's so like simple. It highlights and demonstrates like the issues of mental illness with teens and how it goes just unrecognized and untalked about with adults, and it's a masterpiece. Like, Jennifer, you did that. This book, I devoured this book in like 2 days, I want to say. And if you want to cry, if you want to give yourself a good old cry, this is the book for you. It was made into a Netflix movie. I watched the Netflix movie. I've never been more disappointed in anything in my life, so I wouldn't recommend that. Maybe read the book first, then watch the movie, but don't just skip the book and then try to watch the movie, because it ain't the same. And since we're on the crying train, because sometimes we all just need a good cry. I know I've needed a good cry a couple of times this week. So if you want to keep crying, Looking for Alaska. I feel like this is not cliche, but I'm going to assume like 9 out of 10 of you have heard of Looking for Alaska. It's a Hulu show, and the Hulu show actually is really good, but still read the book first. That's always my recommendation. Read the book first, unless it's The Great Gatsby, because I think the movie was better than the book because Leonardo DiCaprio. I digress. Anyway, so Looking for Alaska. If you haven't heard of Looking for Alaska, it's about, what's his name? Miles is his real name, but he goes by Pudge. He leaves his school and he goes to a boarding school. He meets this girl named Alaska. He has like a really big crush on her. Long story short, they all just become really good friends. And then there's the ending, which again, I will not spoil, because another book I finished and I cried. I think I read this for the first time in high school. I gave it to my mom to read, and I was like, yeah, like this book is like really good. You should read it. So she's like, okay, whatever. She likes to read too. So she reads the book, and then from like 2 rooms away, I just hear, Jello! And I was like, oh my god, like, what? So I go in her room, like, what's wrong? And she goes, you didn't tell me that happens. And I was like, well, yeah, I couldn't spoil the book for you. The ending, Looking for Alaska, is the book for you. It ain't a happy ending. I will tell you that now, it's not. And like, it's a little bit beat up. I don't know if you can see. Ugh. John Green does it again. I don't want to make you cry anymore, so I'm not gonna pick something so depressing, because those other two. Actually, I'm lying. I'm gonna recommend one more sad book. Just one more, I promise. Auschwitz, Lullaby. Who is this by? By Mario Escobar. Y'all, I didn't specifically shed tears when I read this book, but it is heart-wrenching, and I find the Holocaust very interesting in terms of how the hell did that happen? That's what I always think, like, how. Anyway, okay, so Helen, she's a German woman, but she married I think he's called a gypsy in this book. It was in 1943. So she marries a gypsy man. They're obviously like in love because they're married or whatever. And so this is when the soldiers would come like knocking on doors and taking out people who were not of like full-blown, beautiful, blonde hair, blue-eyed German descent. So they knocked on her door, like knock, knock, knock. We're here to take your husband and your kids. And she was like, you can't do that because I'm German and my kids are half German and my husband's married to me. So like, we got this German affiliation. We gonna spread the Germanness around to like save everyone. The soldiers, the Nazis are like, nah sis, that's not how that works. It is, you can stay, like you're good to stay. Don't even worry about it. Keep living your life, but we're gonna need your kids and your husband. And she was like, no, like I feel any mother would say no. So she says, no, I'm gonna go with them. And the Nazis, knowing what's in store, looked at her. Are you sure about that? She said yeah. She said she's for sure gonna go with her kids. Her kids are young too. I think the oldest one is like 10 years old. So she goes to the concentration camp with her husband and her kids. Of course, her husband's taken away from her once they get to the camp. She gets to stay with her kids. And everyone's like, why are you here? Like, you're German. She goes, for my kids, obviously. You know how during the time of the Holocaust, there was this thing that the Nazis would do where they would make the concentration camps look all pretty for cameras, and then they'd put it on the TV and say, look, what we're doing is not that bad. Jewish people are so happy. They weren't happy. So that kind of happened in this situation, and so since she was German, she kind of like had favor with one of the characters in the book, one of the doctors at least in the book, and so he says, hey Helen, we want you to run a school, like set up a school for all the children here and like teach them and like make it like a safe haven. So of course she's ecstatic. That's exciting. She does it. Cameras come in. They're like, doo doo doo. Everything's so beautiful in the concentration camps. And then there's the ending, which if you know anything about the Holocaust, I think you know how it ends. I think you know. But it's a really good read and it's a really easy read. Like you could probably knock this out in a day if you're really dedicated. 2 days, a week if you're not really about it. Next. Now we're gonna get into some weird stuff. I feel like this might not be everyone's cup of tea, but if it is, I bangs with you. So Oryx and Crake. I was assigned this book my sophomore year of college and I really liked it to the point where I obviously like bought it and kept it. So it's about a dystopian future. God, I kind of forgot what this book was about. Okay, so yeah, it's set in a dystopian future. It's about this kid, I don't remember his name, but it's all about how genetically engineering like food and everything sort of like messes with society. It talks about how civilization just kind of it just declined rapidly based on the rise of science and control of kind of like the government, well, control of what they call, I think, the extraordinary people, so like the people in power, the people who have money, haves and the have-nots, as if you will. I truly don't remember how this book ends. It's been 3 years since I read it, but I know that I really liked it, and maybe I'll reread this too once I finish reading the other books that I have. It's a series. I think there's 3 books. I think it's a trilogy. I haven't read the other ones. I think I started one of them and I wasn't like a fan because this one is top tier. Oh, it's also by Margaret Atwood, the same woman who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, which I also read for the same class. She's a really good writer. This one isn't as dark as The Handmaid's Tale, but like it makes you just kind of look at society now and think, oh man, we're oof. And lastly, Playing God by Dr. Anthony Youn. Probably didn't say his last name right. I'm so sorry. I got this book for Christmas, which was weird. I was like, why did I get this book for Christmas? Because I wanted to be a plastic surgeon for a while. Guess who's a plastic surgeon? Anthony Youn takes you through, Dr. Anthony Youn takes you through his journey of what happened after he got his medical degree, once he finished med school, his residency, and opening his own practice. And it's just because he's so successful now. Like, this man has a great YouTube channel. He's known as like the he's known for holistic like medicine, holistic plastic surgery. Like, he's a well-known doctor. So to hear his journey and how he had so much self-doubt in so many points of the journey, and how so many times he was just like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here, obviously. It's just comforting. It's so comforting as a young adult who don't be knowing what's going on. But it's called Playing God because he's a doctor, obviously, and he's a surgeon. Like, even though he's a plastic surgeon, like, plastic surgeons are important, and I don't think people understand that. They're really important. So even though he's a plastic surgeon, like, he still, for more or less, holds people's lives in his hands. And so he speaks on that and how, like, the evolution of medicine that he's seen in his like 20 plus years of being a doctor, and just observing other doctors around him, how they just, I don't want to say that they don't care, how other doctors around him just sort of take for granted the gift that they have to heal and save lives as they play God. You know, they have the right to accept a surgery, refuse a surgery. They have the right to change the course of treatment, which will ultimately change the course of the person's health, for better or for worse. Like, who knows what's going to happen? And it makes you look at medicine in a totally different way. So if you're interested in medicine, if you need a good pick-me-up for life, if you need like a little motivational story, then this is for sure the book. Fun fact, after I read this book, I found out he had a YouTube channel. And so I went to his YouTube channel. Well, I didn't even go to it. It popped up on my feed because the FBI is watching. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have a YouTube channel. I just finished your book, Playing God, and it was amazing. Like, so happy that I found your channel. And he responded. He's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So me and Dr. Youn are friends now. I said what I said. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Just like 5 books, short, simple, to the point. If you want me to do another book recommendation video, comment down below and like this video so that I know this is something that you guys are interested in. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys